My name is Celeste Green, and I am from Spanish for Kids. Spanish for Kids is, you may have seen me around. I have my company that comes into the elementary schools here in Ypsilanti to help expose children in elementary schools to Spanish and to start your bilingual journey early on, like we're supposed to. And I went to elementary school in Detroit, Michigan, and I went to McFarlane Elementary School. And I loved school. I loved it when I was there. I loved teaching in an elementary school as well. I went to college at Central State University, and that is an HBCU. It's a historically black college university. And I had an amazing time there where I studied Spanish. And actually, when I was young, my father spoke to me in Spanish, not all the time, but he knew that it was a really valuable thing to learn two languages. And so he spoke to me in Spanish, and then I decided I wanted to major in that. And so I did that, and then decided, you know what, I think as many kids as possible should have the opportunity to be bilingual. So I started my company to be able to go into as many elementary schools as I possibly can to make sure that kids get that opportunity. So I'm so excited to come into all the schools and see everyone and start their language journey. So, okay, so today we're going to be reading a book called Planting Stories. Can you plant stories? I like all the flowers on this book, so we have to see what they mean by planting stories. And it says, the life of librarian and storyteller, Pura Belpre. So we'll see what that's about. I love that. Wow, look at the beautiful colors here. Oh, before I start reading, I notice here it says Puerto Rico. I wonder if this story is in Puerto Rico and Puerto Rico. It is 1921. Now, that was kind of a long time ago, but it's 1921. Pura Teresa Belpre leaves her home in San Juan, and San Juan is in Puerto Rico, for a visit to Nueva York. Words travel with her. Stories her abuela taught her. Cuentos folclóricos, Pura retold in the shade of a tamarind tree in Puerto Rico. Now, if you know any Spanish, they say the words travel with her. Stories her abuela would be her grandma taught her. Cuentos folclóricos, these are stories, like folkloric tales or stories. And Pura retold the stories in the shade of a tamarind tree. See, here's a tamarind tree, and she's in the shade of that, telling stories in Puerto Rico. And see, I saw that here. It said Puerto Rico. Oh, and that's the Puerto Rican flag right here. So I was right when I looked at it. Sometimes you can use those cues. Now, a new island stretches before her, ripe for planting seeds of the cuentos she carries. Now remember, cuentos are stories, so she's thinking about those stories that she used to tell in Puerto Rico, and now she's in Nueva York. And in English, Nueva York is New York. So here she comes from her isla, from the island, and she's coming here. And she's got so many seeds to plant of those cuentos. Manhattan, a city of hustle and bustle. See how many more buildings and people there are here? Bigger, louder, crowded, yet alive with hope and possibility. What began as a visit to celebrate her sister's wedding becomes the first step in a new land. Una vida nueva for Pura. Vida nueva is a new life for her. So it does look different than where she was before. She looks a little bit like, oh my goodness. She works first in a garment factory, but it is cold floors and hard edges, not the soft, fertile ground where seeds take root, So she's used to being somewhere where she can plant things in the ground, but it's all kind of like concrete and hard. And she's saying, it's cold floors and hard edges. Then, a golden opportunity, una bendición. It's like a blessing. The library needs a bilingual assistant. Pura speaks Spanish, English, and French. She's perfect for the job. So you see, it looks like she takes a book with her when she goes places. And so, this is a nice job, but she's saying this at the library is like a dream. It's perfect for her. But where are her abuela's stories? Not one folktale from Puerto Rico is on the shelves. See, she's on ladders and putting things away, and she doesn't even see one. How lucky for the library that Pura has story seeds ready to plant and grow. So she's thinking, okay, they don't have the stories that my abuela had, but you know what? I have the seeds of those stories. So let's see what happens. In the children's room, she lights the story hour candle and begins. Look at that. So she has her name tag on, Pura, but I don't see a book in her lap. What she does is she tells these stories. Her eyes dance. Her voice sings. Pura's words paint a picture. These are her words, and this is what she's kind of painting for the kids. It paints a picture of a little house with a round balcony, where Martina, a beautiful Spanish cockroach, meets Perez, a handsome and gallant mouse. El ratoncito, Perez, y la cucarachita, Martina, a tail from the tamarind tree. So this is a tamarind tree. And this is Perez, is the mouse. I don't see the cucaracha. Let's see what happens. Oh, maybe this is the cucaracha. When Pura's story is done, each child makes a wish on the candle. Oh, I like that. And with a wisp of air, whoosh, la vela is blown out. Vela is candle. La vela is blown out. Now Pura has a wish too, to plant her story seeds throughout the land. Pura learns to make puppets. She snips and sews their clothes, paints their delicate faces. Look at that. That's very cool. Families come to hear folktales in Inglés y Español, to watch Pura's puppets dance across the stage of her stories. So it's like a puppet theater. And she has her puppets there. Wow. Look at the family, so happy. They don't need to necessarily have a book. Books are nice, but she's making stories with her puppets and her experience from Puerto Rico. But the library needs libros for its shelves. Libros are books. How can more children read Pérez y Martina and other cuentos de Puerto Rico? Pura puts her story in an envelope and mails it to Frederick Warren, a publisher. So a publisher is a person that looks at a book and says, this is a good idea, or maybe not now. But she types hers up and she mails it off to a publisher to say, you know what, I have a really great idea for a story. Soon, Pérez y Martina is a book. Look at that. Pérez y Martina. And it is in a book. Now a published author, a puppeteer, and storyteller, Pura travels from branch to branch. That means like library to library, classroom to classroom, to churches and community centers, planting her story seeds in the hearts and minds of children new to this island who wished to remember la lengua y los colores of home. It means like the language and the colors of home. So she took all her experiences, put them in a book, in a beautiful story. And so now it's all throughout at community centers. Like she said, at schools, at churches. They're all around. And look how happy they are when they see Pura coming with her book. Writing, learning, speaking, teaching, traveling. Pura does not slow down. See? All of these people listening to her. Until, like the beautiful Martina, she meets her Perez. So she must meet someone. Remember in the story that she first started talking about, it was Martina y Perez. And Perez was the mouse, and the cucaracha was Martina. And remember they met? So now they're saying she met her own Perez. On a December day in New York, Pura marries the musician Clarence Cameron White. Un año away from the library, she decides 1 year to start a new life as a wife. So that's Clarence White. And this is when they get married. That says just married. Chewy, 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 chewy. People are using the puppets, listening to her stories. But a year stretches on. Together, they travel to new cities. Clarence plays his music. Pura tells her stories. So she's got her story. She's so happy with her puppets and people listening. He's playing his music. And they're on the train traveling to different cities. They are happy years. They are happy years of music and writing, separations and reunions, families, friends, family, and stories, always. Until on a June day in New York, Clarence stops playing his music and Pura's story must begin again. Oh. So Clarence stops playing. I don't think he's around anymore. And she has to begin her stories again. Remember at the beginning when she first came here, this is kind of the same thing she saw. Like, wow, this is a new land, new opportunity. It's 1961. Pura returns to the library. There are others now, storytellers who make puppets dance. See? Who read Perez y Martina, The Tiger and the Rabbit, Juan Bobo, The Three Magi, and many more of Pura's stories to the children. So they're reading here. They have the puppets where she's putting on a puppet show. Kids have their own puppets. And then there's a puppet show here, and he's talking about it to the kids. And she's planted so many seeds and made so many kids so happy. They enjoy it so much. The seeds she has planted, the roots that grew shoots into the open air of possibility, have become a lush landscape into which she steps as though she has never left. Look at that. And you know what? All these flowers here look to me like all of her ideas and all her beautiful stories, and it's making people blossom just like a flower, where they may not have been as happy before. Once they read her stories and had such an awesome time with her, now they're blossoming just like the flowers. So those are the seeds that she planted by telling her stories from when she was in Puerto Rico.